glasses on in front of a window is probably not the best idea. So now we all like different genres, right? All like different books, all like different authors, all like different series. But there is one thing that is universally loved all throughout this little community on YouTube. We all love buying books. Don't even deny it. You have a book buying addiction. And that is probably why you're here. Today we're going to be talking about book buying. While being very stressful sometimes, buying books is one of the most wonderful things in the entire world. Everybody wants a library in their house, right? Come on, I cannot be the only one who wants all of my books lined up on the walls with little library ladders that I can like slide down on each side. You know what I'm saying? Okay, maybe it's just me. But I definitely have a book buying problem. So today I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on what goes through my mind when I read the words book buying. Now, one of the biggest controversies concerning book buying is book buying online or book buying in a bookstore. There are tons of pros and cons to both of these options. Now, when you're in a bookstore, you get the whole experience of actually buying a book. Now, you walk into a bookstore through the doors and you are just immediately surrounded by books. Now, what I've noticed from experience is that when you go to a bookstore, it's kind of easier, at least for me, to find new books to read. There are a million different ways to find out about new books. When walking through the aisles of a bookstore, you actually find more books that you haven't heard about on BookTube or Goodreads or whatever. And some of the books that I've just randomly picked up because I like the synopsis and I haven't heard of it before are actually some of my favorite books I've ever read. And even if I do find a book on BookTube or Goodreads, sometimes I'll kind of forget about it and I don't remember that I wanted to read it until I'm actually seeing it in the bookstore. So it's definitely very eye-opening when you're trying to find a new book if you're actually buying it in a store. The problem with buying it in a bookstore, at least in my town, is there are less and less independent bookstores. The only thing for like 20 miles around me in every single way is a Barnes & Noble. We used to have an independent bookstore that was like not even a 5-minute drive from my house, and it's not there anymore, and I feel like that's very, very common that, you know, stores like Barnes & Noble or Waterstones kind of taking over little bookshops. Honestly, if I want to go to a little bookstore, I kind of have to go to the city. And big name stores like that are, at least from me, very far away. And at least for me, Barnes & Noble, either way, is like a 30-minute drive from me, and I feel like that's very common with people. Nobody lives close to a big bookstore. So first of all, the trek to go to a bookstore, at least for me, is very, very long. Also, in bookstores, the books tend to be a little more pricey. I don't know if it varies through states or countries or whatever, but pretty much for me, paperbacks are usually like $11, $12, and hardbacks are like $18, $19, which I personally feel is a lot for a book. Also, my biggest problem with Barnes & Noble is that they never have matched copies. They'll either not have the first book in stock, which is bullshit, or else they'll have the first one in paperback and the second, third, fourth, whatever in hardback. Why? Why can't you just have them all together? I don't get it. It's not like they don't get the first one in hardcover. Like, it's there. You can buy it off the website. It's just never in stock. And I don't know about you, but I personally like to have all my books matched. So I don't like to buy a lot of series from Barnes & Noble. So those are the pros and cons of buying a book in a store. And now for buying books online. I personally use mostly Amazon and Book Depository. Sometimes I'll use Scholastic. Sometimes I'll use Book Outlet. Like, wherever I can find the book that I want to find, I'll buy it. Regardless of where I get it from, it's less expensive than Barnes & Noble. Like, at least like a $5 difference. Like, that's a lot of money. When you buy a book online, it's almost always in stock. Very rarely have I been on Amazon looking for a book and I haven't had it in stock. And also when you go to like international websites like Book Depository, they have different editions, whether it be a collector's edition of a book or different countries' covers. Like, I love the Looking for Alaska Australian cover. I can't buy that in my American Barnes & Noble. And yeah, the $5 on shipping definitely factors into the fact that Barnes & Noble is more expensive, and it does take a little bit longer depending on where you live and what kind of shipping you choose, but it's really convenient if like you're looking for a specific book. I mean, I have Amazon Prime and Book Depository is free shipping, so I don't pay for shipping a lot, but a lot of people have to, so like that's definitely a factor. There's also that whole thing going on with Amazon about authors. I don't know the full story, but it's out there. Apparently Amazon is kind of cheating authors by selling their books for less than they're supposed to, and there's really nothing the authors or anyone can do about it, so it's kind of upsetting to know that I get most of my books from somewhere that's not appreciating the authors that are writing the books. But I mean, you gotta consider the fact that I'm a teenager and I don't have a lot of money. Now, I'm pretty even when it comes to the split between buying in a bookstore or buying online. I tend to buy a lot of my standalones or contemporaries from Barnes & Noble because I don't like the mixed matched copies. And then I buy more series online on Amazon or Book Depository or wherever. Now, I checked my bank account, and not counting cash, I spent over $140 on books last month. Obviously not everyone buys that much in books every month, but still I feel like everyone kind of buys more than they read. I wish the universe just evolved where we could kind of contain ourselves and buy a book only after we've read a book, but you know, that doesn't happen here. But why? Why do we buy more books than we read? Why do we decide to read a book that we got last week as opposed to one we got last month? I don't know. I think the main reason is that, one, we like books. We like buying books. books, we like owning books, we like having our own copies of books. There is a huge difference between reading a book that you got from the library that you have to give back eventually and reading one that is going to stay on your shelf forever. Like, we're all book collectors. We want a huge collection of books. And I think one of the second reasons is that we feel like we need to buy more books than we actually do. I think being a part of BookTube definitely makes you buy more books than you would have if you weren't on BookTube. We all want book collections the size of our favorite booktubers. Not personally me, but I feel like a lot of people feel that you can't be successful on BookTube unless you have like this immense collection of books. Obviously that's not true because your YouTube quality isn't defined by your collection of books. But you know, when you see the big booktubers having like hundreds and hundreds, nearly 1,000 books, you're gonna get intimidated and feel like you need to get at that level. I don't know, I think a lot of people, including me, went on huge book buying sprees as soon as they started BookTube. Like in April, I bought 20 books in 20 days. Why? I don't know. But the reason that irks me is that a lot of the books that we buy in that first big BookTube book haul is that they're completely forgotten. There are at least 10 books on my shelf that I bought in March that are in my March book haul that I haven't even considered reading it. And that's really depressing. Like, I feel bad for the books that sit on my shelf for months and the one that I bought 2 days ago gets read immediately. They have feelings too. So just thinking about that while making this video, I had an idea. In November, I decided that I'm going to not buy any new books, only buying new releases, because there's just absolutely no way that I'm not pre-ordering the Bane Chronicles in hardcover. But besides whatever November releases I'm interested in, I'm not going to buy any new books. But just for that month of November, I'm only going to read books that are on my shelf already that I haven't read. I feel like I bought so many good books because of BookTube, but I've just never picked them up because there's too many new things coming out. It's really overwhelming when you think about it. But yeah, I decided that I'm going to do that in November. A couple of my BookTube friends are willing to do it with me. If you're interested in doing it, leave a comment below. We can just all knock out everything on our TBR pile in November. And then we can splurge in December because we have 2 months worth of books to buy. So those are my feelings on book buying. Let me know what you guys think below. Where do you buy your books from? How much money do you spend a month on books? Do you think more people buy books because of BookTube? Any general thoughts you have on book buying, leave them below. This is another topic that I feel is very, very subjective, so I'm definitely interested to see what you guys have to say. Also, I've been wanting to do just more general book talks. Not like book reviews, but just generally discussing things that have to do with books. I had my one about rereading a few months ago. I'll leave the link below if you want to watch that. But yeah, I really just want more of these Let's Talk About videos. So leave a discussion topic below that has to do with books, and I might actually do it. That's all for today, so I'll see you guys soon for a new video. Bye! Just spilled tea everywhere.